Guys, and welcome back to my channel for the last Premier League preview of the 2021-2022 season. It feels weird to say that. I was on Charlie's preview yesterday and it felt weird then already. And now it feels even weirder for me. Strange. I'm not looking forward to 2 months full stop without football and then a bit of pre-season. Do you know what I mean? Not looking forward to that. Transfer silly season has well and truly kicked off today. All of a sudden, we're linked to Neymar. It's a bit mad, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, last game of the season against Watford, already relegated Watford. Chelsea, of course, with their lackluster draw against Leicester, getting over the line and securing third in the Premier League, which is our highest finish since when? Since Sarri's season, yeah? It is. So here we are. So yeah, play some youngsters, really. But otherwise, do I really care about this game tomorrow? No. I care about the youngsters because I want them to be given a chance and hopefully take that chance and then do well. But otherwise, does anyone really care about that game? Probably not. So we're probably going to focus more on other things than the very game. But we will, of course, mention it at the very end. As you can see, we've returned yesterday, made his debut the other day, and he's here again. I will say I didn't want to get on your nerves again. Like, Aaron, you available, mate? But unfortunately, everyone under the sun seemed to have been busy today except you three. So, appreciate you all for being here. But Aaron, thank you for being back. Transfer silly season. I don't know you that well yet, so I don't really know your general thoughts on things. So what do you think of transfer silly season? Like, do you think it's a bit of fun? Do you think it's annoying? What do you make of that?
I mean, it's always a good laugh seeing all these crazy transfer rumors that come out of nowhere and some of the most stupid links you'll see to your club. But especially so with Chelsea, for me, it's quite interesting because we know exactly what we need this window. And it's going to take a big feat for us to fix the squad or rebuild it in a way where we're going to be closer towards the top two than we are the ones behind us. So it's quite interesting for me. I do quite enjoy it, though. So it's a good laugh.
Fair, dude. That is fair. Charlie, let me get to you. Obviously, I was on your channel yesterday. We did speak about this. I mean, that was before crazy rumors like Neymar started popping out. But still feel the same as yesterday. It's just weird that it's the last game, isn't it?
It is a bit, mate, isn't it? It feels like, this season's dragged on forever. As I was chatting with you the other day, this is our, 63rd game of a possible 66 this season. So much has gone on when you look back at it. All the off-the-pitch stuff, the Lukaku things, COVID, injuries, a lot's been packed into this season.
Obviously, sanctions,
sanctions, 2 cup final defeats, winning the Club World Cup and a Super Cup. A lot's gone on this season. You can forget about everything that's happened, but I will be kind of grateful that it's coming to an end. We can move into a new era and kind of rebuild and try and close the gap between the top two, because ultimately that's what we need to do. And we want a Premier League back in the cabinet as soon as possible. But in terms of the transfers and that, look, some of it's ridiculous. I enjoy it. It's a bit of a laugh, to see what's been what people think. But realistically, like with some of the links you see, it's not really going to happen. It's not a priority. Like, Chelsea fans know what we need to address, and it's certainly not Neymar, which seems to be the flavour today. But yeah, mate, I'll be glad. It's the end of a long season, so it's time to have a break, regroup, and then go again next season.
Yeah, I hear that one as well. Like, it is also a case of at least it's over. That's what we've been kind of almost craving for the last few weeks, essentially, especially after the cup final. But even before that, we were like, can this season just end, for goodness sake? But then, at least on my end, I was like, okay, I do want it to end, but I don't want it to take another 3 months to start again. So kind of like, I have that problem within myself now. But Clutch, let me get to you. As always, mate, thank you for being here. What about you? I mean, you and I were actually discussing the whole Neymar thing before it ever was a thing. I can't remember what got us to talk about Neymar, but we were sat here after one of these streams, we were talking about it. And I told you at the time, and I'll get into more detail when we, in a second as well, but I told you at the time, like, on the pitch, probably exactly what we need, but off the pitch, about the last person we need anywhere near this football club. We already have plenty of drama with Lukaku. Imagine the stuff with Neymar every February is gone because it's his sister's birthday, and that's a bit dodgy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know about how things go in Brazil, but it's dodgy here. I know that much. But still, those same thoughts as we had 2 weeks ago, as like, Neymar's not the move, even if it was like, because it's so weird, it's so far, right? Obviously, we were linked with him back when he came to Europe from Santos all those years ago. But it's one of those names like Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, Ronaldo. Those four main names are like inconceivable names, right? Again, I'm not trying to say I want Neymar by any means, but it's weird. On the one hand, it's like they're so inconceivable. Whenever it's a thing, you're like, maybe we should. But we know for a fact we shouldn't, don't we?
I think it's one of those things where I think Chelsea fans, they need that major signing. They need that major name. And it feels like this every summer. They're like, oh, we need to go get Haaland. It's like, but he's not coming. Sorry. Like, yes, Neymar on the pitch is probably one of those players we desperately need. He's a creative winger. But at the same time, is he going to press? Is he going to do the things that Tuchel wants him to do? Hashi put in the chat, yeah, that's all well and good, but he didn't press at PSG. Why would he press here? Like, the system's a totally different system that he played at PSG. People need to get this out of their heads. Neymar is a very good player, one of the best.
Lukaku doesn't press and we bought him, so clearly that doesn't stop us.
Imagine Neymar and Lukaku in the same thing. Imagine
how
our front line just gets run past, and then it's just Mason Mount trying to cover everything. It's not going to work. He's a brilliant player, sure, but he's not going to work. And I don't know why people want this guy when you want to complain about everything that Lukaku does, everything that Pulisic does. You're going to be doing the same thing about Neymar. It's going to be the same exact story, except you might get a little bit more results out of him on the pitch. Maybe. But it's
might
just...
be a bit like Ronaldo for United, really.
It's probably like the perfect example. That's exactly what would probably be, but...
Just a lot less fit, even if he's, 6 years younger?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of put it this way earlier when somebody asked if we should buy him. He just doesn't seem like he takes this game seriously anymore. So why do we want somebody who's not in it full time? Sure, he's brilliant on his day, but if he's not going to care, then what's the point of having him? We want somebody who cares. We want players who are going to give everything. He can say it all he wants. He doesn't show it. He's not going to do it. Neymar is a wonderful player, but you got to pass on him. I'm sorry. There's other players you got to go for.
He's also dirty. He's one of those players that I really, really hate, like of that Mane ilk. And I don't even hate Mane as much anymore because we got Mendy and they won things together with Senegal. So I'm like, I wanted Senegal to win, which meant I had to want Mane to win, I guess. So I hate him a bit less now. But what I really dislike him and Neymar for is they love a dive. I mean, they really love it. I'm surprised they've not been to the Olympics, really. But what really triggers me is when you're a diver, but also you're dirty and keep kicking people. Like, if you kick people, you got to be able to take it. That's fine. Kick people all you want. That's why I don't even hate like the Pepes and Dani Alves. I don't hate that. Oh, Dani Alves dives as well, I guess. But the Pepes, do you know what I mean? When he was like kicking everyone all the time. But at least he can handle it when he gets kicked back. But Neymar, like every time he gets touched, he's like flying about and doing a whole ballerina, sequence. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's mental. Also, he's 30. It's a bit mad. It makes me feel really old, the fact that Neymar's 30. It's really bad. But the whole not caring thing, I feel like I probably wouldn't either if I was a PSG, if I'm honest. So maybe going somewhere different where things are a bit more competitive, maybe that part would change. We will never know. But where has this story even come from? The biggest madness, of the year has happened because Kylian Mbappe has actually decided to stay at PSG. Obviously, this is the Chelsea channel, and that's what we 99.9% talk about. But that's big football news. We need to discuss that for a minute. How have Real Madrid managed to lose out on Mbappe and Haaland? They were all so confident they would get both. Now they're getting neither. It's quite funny. Just the only problem, the one they did get is fucking Rudiger. So brilliant. Also, does this have an impact on will they now have more funds available to go for Tchouaméni? So does that make us getting Tchouaméni more difficult because they can't get Mbappe? It's something, unfortunately, to worry about a little bit, I think. But yeah, he stayed for 300 million euros sign-on bonus, 100 million on like some sort of loyalty bonus or whatever it is. And God knows what he earns in money. Who knows whether there's rumors from a couple of days ago that he will have some sort of a say in terms of who the manager is, what players go, what players stay. And apparently, this is where the whole Neymar rumor stems from. One of the conditions that he was given in that contract or whatever, which is how they convinced him to stay, is that Neymar would leave. I'm not sure why he's really aiming for that. Maybe he wants to
the number 10. He wants the number 10 on his back.
Yeah, but surely, like, what numbers he got now? There, 11?
7. He's got
Seven.
7 at PSG.
7. Yeah, there you go. Well, it's not that bad. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even play at left wing anymore unless they sign a proper striker, which they haven't. What difference does it make? So I don't really understand. But that's where it's come from. Basically, that Mbappe is forcing Neymar out of PSG. And then it's like, where could he go? Well, obviously, Barcelona will always be mentioned when it comes to Neymar. But if it's not Barcelona, where then? And that's where Chelsea are coming. But you know what, Clash? I'll actually start with you. What did you think when you saw that Mbappe staying? Like, I was shocked, if I'm honest. Like, I know it was dragging on, and there was all the reports said I might stay in the end. But I not for 1 second did I believe that. I was so convinced that he was going to Madrid. You cannot even, like, I was so convinced. Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, really? I was like, is this the real Fabrizio Romano? I genuinely clicked on the name on Instagram. I was like, it's the real person. I was shocked. What about you?
I was definitely shocked. I mean, I thought it was done deal. I thought Mbappe was gonna definitely go there because why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he give it? Or why wouldn't he go to Real Madrid? I mean, it's just one of those clubs. Yes, PSG is setting up to win, but hasn't really gotten over the line. Real Madrid are in the Champions League final. Adding Mbappe is only going to help. You're adding Rudiger, potentially adding Tchouaméni. I mean, there will always be the prominence of Real Madrid. So I don't know why Mbappe didn't take it. Maybe it is that's because he's getting all this player power. But if that's the case, he's going to have a sad stay because it never works. Player power never works anywhere. And if he gets to say on, hey, no, I don't want Kante as a manager. I want Zidane as a manager. It's like, okay, well, let's see how that works out for you. But a lot of things, I think, I don't know why he would do that. I mean, it just seems like PSG was always going to be his stepping stone to Real Madrid, and now he's going to stay. So, and I think that probably, you know how, what's the word I want to use? Vindictive Real Madrid can be. So that pathway is probably gone for a while. So if your dream was to play at Real Madrid, let's go on now. So have a good time.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, for sure. I mean, you can look at it that way, that he's only 23, right? So maybe it's a bit early to go to Madrid because Madrid is kind of your last move, right? Until you maybe go back to where you came from in the end, or until you go to like an America or whatever, like to see out the end of your career. Like Real Madrid is kind of like the peak, the pinnacle. Maybe 23 is a bit early. Maybe that's why he decided it. And he's like, I'm going to give it another 2-3 years at PSG and then I'm going to still go. Aaron, were you shocked when that came out that PSG actually keeping Mbappe somehow?
I was just so confused because I thought when you see those pictures of like Mbappe as a kid in his bedroom and you see all the posters on the wall behind him, it's all Real Madrid and Ronaldo and stuff. So you've known for a long time that his dream is to play for Madrid. So for him to then suddenly turn that down and think he's going to carry on at Paris, it was kind of confusing because you know the heritage that you get with going to Real Madrid, becoming a Galactico, being one of the biggest names in the world, going to a place like Real Madrid where you're playing with Karim Benzema, Vinicius, all these kinds of players. Like, these are big-time players who have been doing it for a long time. Obviously not Vinicius as much, but like Benzema, Modric, Cruz, Casemiro, all these kinds of players. So it was very confusing.
He's a new signing.
Yeah, it was very confusing. But I think if the rumors are to be believed as to what his kind of contract is and how he's going to be able to have a lot of control there, then I can sort of understand it. But I just think it's insane if that is true to be a player but also be a sporting director at the same time, to have a 300 million bonus of signing on and like I think they said it was 100 million
more. Mad. We're not keeping Rudiger because we didn't want to give him 10 million more in sign-on bonus. And then give him
PSG 300 million. That's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I just think it's insane. I think if I get what you're saying about whole like when you go to Real Madrid, what stage of your career? Because I think normally if you're younger and you go to Real Madrid, you tend to spend the majority of your career there and then go off. But a lot of people go when it's sort of like towards the end of their careers, they get their stint there and then go off elsewhere. But I don't know. If I was him, I would have gone to Madrid because I just think the opportunity has arisen there and the kind of league you'll be playing is a lot more competitive. I just think it would have been so much better for him because it elevates his career in the sense of going from League One, which isn't even considered a top 5 league anymore, to then going to literally the biggest club in the world.
It's weird because I'm still not to this day. I'm still not sure if the average level of the Liga is any worse than La Liga. If I'm honest, like sure, there's the top 3-4 clubs, But behind that, like, I don't know, Celta Vigo and Gijon, and you know what I mean? Like, is that any better than?
No, I think some of the
that's in Switzerland. Where's another random French club that I can think of now? Not Rennes, but Reims. Do you know what I mean? Like, are they any better? I doubt it, but who knows?
I think the Spanish league is a lot better than the French league, if we're being completely honest. When you look at the caliber of players and just the teams there in general, like, you could probably name 4 or 5 of the teams in Ligue 1 before you're sat there thinking, you're like, I don't know who else. But with the Spanish league, you can name a good few sets of teams.
Yeah, but I feel like that might also be European, which is weird because France is in Europe. But that might be, I don't know, Premier League heavy, or just our generation, because obviously Messi and Neymar made La Liga so big. Just ignorance towards French football to some extent, because, I mean, I'm obviously from a German-speaking country, but chances are you guys will probably not be able to name all 18 Bundesliga clubs all the same. I probably would. But yeah, it's a tough one for sure. I mean, maybe it's also a case of now there's still Benzema, so he would kind of compete with Benzema, or they'd have to put Vinicius on the other side if Mbappe would play on the wing. So maybe it's just easier to go once Benzema is done. Who knows? Charlie, what do you reckon? Were you surprised?
A little bit, but then obviously having followed this, it's been dragging on for a while. You know, there were murmurings and reports coming out that actually, you know, there's a possibility that he could still end up staying. And then, you know, once those started gathering pace, I was still surprised, but I wasn't as surprised as I would have been like a few months ago. And I think it's important to also realise that, you know, this idea of star players having a lot of power within the club, that's exactly what Messi had at Barcelona. Messi ran that club essentially. You know, he would be consulted on managers, be consulted on transfer targets. This idea of big players having a say in it is nothing new. You know, they do get asked their opinions. You know, Ronaldo would have been asked about Ten Hag at United. He would be asked about potential players to bring in. So I don't think that's anything new. It's just obviously when you hear it actually being reported.
If it's in the contract, because I don't think it was in the contract for these other guys.
No, of course, perhaps not, but it's still the same principle. You know, this idea of players having it is not really anything new. And I also think, like, another good point that you raised, Laurenz, is that, like, for Madrid, it could actually be better to get Mbappe in a couple of years' time, because Benzema would have been phased out. Because if he goes this summer, like, okay, Benzema's going to play centre forward. Vinicius, who's in great form, has had a great season. What do you do with him? Do you play him left? Do you keep him there? Do you put Mbappe on the right? Like, there's not a bad problem to have, but Madrid's quite settled there. You don't know what you're going to get from Rodrigo, who, again, will be another year older, could be something different. So I don't think it's a complete... Obviously, Madrid would be disappointed that he's not coming, but I don't think it's a complete disaster if Mbappe were to go there in 2 years' time. I don't know if Perez obviously got a big ego. He'll probably be quite embarrassed, humiliated by the fact that they've missed out on him. And would they get that opportunity again? I'm not sure. But I think in a weird way, it kind of shows a bit of ambition from Mbappe as well, in terms of, like, he could have gone to Real Madrid and he could win La Liga, the Champions League. But the fact that he wants to stay at PSG, I know the money's astronomical and whatnot, but, you know, to try and win a Champions League with your hometown club and Paris for, like, that first one, that's probably a bigger legacy if he were to score the goals that would win PSG that Champions League than, say, contributing to a 15th title for Real Madrid. So if you look at it that way, then you can maybe understand it a little bit. I don't think he's committing his whole career. He's 23 years of age. It's a 2 years with an option of a third, so maybe probably 3 years contract. He can still go to Real Madrid at 25, 26 and have the prime years of his career ahead of him. So, I mean, I don't think it's that bad that he stays. But yeah, I mean, the money is ridiculous, and so's the likes of, you know, the clauses in there. You know, he wants Leonardo gone. They might get a Campos in as sporting director, Zidane to come as manager. Those things are, you know, all right. Should players have a say in that? That's a different conversation. But I mean, he's essentially kind of a player owner really now, maybe the first of its kind.
Player owner, man. That's so weird to think about. But actually, I think you made a really good point. I hadn't really thought of it that way. To me, it was kind of like the opposite, where it's like lacking ambition. But now when you explain it that way, I kind of agree with you, if I'm honest, because, I mean, obviously Barcelona could find their former glory again. But right now, the league's kind of dead in stone for Real Madrid, just as much as it is for PSG in France. So at that point, what difference does it make? Sure, you can say, at least you have two different ones, or bloody hell, or a more important one. But does it matter, really? compared to winning PSG's first Champions League. Obviously, who knows whether they'll do it. But if he does do it, I think you might have a point. Lewis, thank you for joining us after your own stream. Appreciate you as always.
Yes, bro.
Were you
Big
shocked?
up everyone else as well.
There you go. Were you shocked at the news that Mbappe is staying at PSG? And also, obviously, just to make this very clear to everybody, I don't believe Chelsea's going to sign Neymar. But, it's YouTube. Things have to go in the title and the thumbnail. But
yeah, man, clicks. The game is the game. Trust me. I wish I came earlier with that, but we moved. But on the Mbappe stuff, those clauses and everything are absolutely ridiculous. And it's like he's basically running the club. He's got a say in the new director, the say in new coaches, potential transfers. And with all of that in mind, he's probably still going to leave in about 3-4 years. So it's just about trying to keep him there for as long as possible. But yeah, football is moving absolutely ridiculous. And that's player power to an extent that I have never seen in football history. But it'll be very interesting to see how it runs. Maybe Mbappe will change the name to fucking, I don't know, Mbappe Saint-Germain or some bullshit. I ain't got an idea. Might as well, because it's basically his own club now. The Neymar stuff, like, everyone's just making stories up. Let's be real about it. No credible sources even come out talking about Neymar even looking at Chelsea, but people are putting two and two together.
A non-credible source. I think it might have been no source. It's just people.
No, it's just people thinking, Mbappe might want to push Neymar out. He'd be nice at Chelsea. He had a good record with Tuchel. Bring him to the bridge. And it's everyone just wanting that star power because our attack is absolute wank and they just want anyone in there that will be able to make it work. Like, I'd gladly take Neymar at Chelsea. The only thing that I'd have to look at is the wage structure. If he took a pay cut, cool. I'd be all over it. That would be the only question mark for me on that deal. But again, we're all just speculating about nothing. I think everyone's trying to will this into existence. If they talk about it enough, maybe you put it into the club's head or you put it into Neymar's head. I don't know, but we're all speculating on this. It would be nice, but it's a FIFA career mode thing right now. Let's be honest about it.
It really is. But do you think, would it be nice? Because, I just said it earlier before you joined. To me, it's like on the pitch, kind of exactly what we're missing in attack. But off the pitch, even if he took I'm not even talking about wage structure, even if he theoretically took a pay cut, right? I feel like all the drama that's going to be caused by him off the pitch, just obviously we are not PSG fans. We don't follow Liga basically at all. And even still, we hear some stuff coming out of there with Neymar refused to turn up to training. Neymar had a week-long birthday party.
There's always this weird disappearance between February and March where everyone says it's got something to do with his sister's birthday or something. But I don't know, because I've heard conflicting sources. I've heard a few sources come out and say that Neymar's actually a very good influence on the dressing room, both for Brazil and for PSG, and he doesn't create that many problems. So it all really depends on what you hear.
True, to be honest. For Brazil, that might even be true. It's a weird.
It's all speculation. It's all speculation.
Absolutely. Aaron, just quickly to get through that before we talk about the Kante stuff. Do you think at all? Let's say it would somehow be realistic. Do you think it should be something for Chelsea to pursue that whole Neymar situation?
See, the thing is, the way that I look at it is when you look at our team with all our outgoings, everyone we're trying to get rid of. I just think on the list of priorities, it'll be quite low down because if you think about it, pretty much our whole defense has to be restructured, and we need to look to bring in a DM and then assess the different other midfielders we have, like the example, the Jorginho Kante contract situations and stuff. And obviously, the fact that the attackers aren't firing, we could end up looking at trying to bring someone in, but we'd have to offload players first. So it's, for me, in the list of priorities, it'd be lower down, but I wouldn't say no to it at all because I think if you have that kind of player on the pitch, I know off the pitch there are things that say he might not be the best, but purely for what he does on the pitch, I think it'd be great for us. But I just wanted to touch on something. The way that I could potentially see it being is with Mbappe's new contract situation and how that sort of works. Do any of you feel like it could be a situation where he feels like his pride and his ego is taking a hit because he wants to be the main person there, one of the main people, but Mbappe being elevated to a completely different level to him, it might be a thing where he's thinking they rate him a lot highly than they rate him. They rate Mbappe higher than they rate Neymar. So could that be a case where he thinks he wants to get out of there and maybe go somewhere where he's going to be the top guy again?
I do think exactly that. Even if it's not Mbappe forcing him out, exactly for the reason you just mentioned, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he does want to leave. It would surprise me if he wanted to leave to specifically Chelsea. I think he would probably try to get to Pep, if anywhere in England, because that's probably where it's easiest for him to fit in my opinion. Also, they can just ship Grealish back up. No idea where they're going to make any money from him, but or Barcelona. But Barcelona can't afford that. So even 70 million, they can't afford. I mean, they're trying to get Alonso for literally pennies. But yeah, it's a rough one. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I did put a poll at the top of the chat just to get a bit of a feel what the people are thinking. So please pick your selection, whether you want Neymar at Chelsea. Pick between yes, not sure, and no. Maybe I shouldn't have put the not sure in there, but I'm not sure, hence why I had to put it there, because I wouldn't know what to pick otherwise. But so far, we're leading a 55% yes. So that's interesting. Also, by the way, we have over 230 people watching, which I appreciate. So please be sure to subscribe on the road to 15,000 subscribers and smash the like button. We need way more likes. We don't even have 50 likes yet. So let's get to 100 likes ASAP. Just one click of a button. Doesn't cost you any money. Barely cost you any time. Just to kind of stay on that topic, but make it more Chelsea relevant than that feeble dream of Neymar. Do you fear now, Charlie, if you obviously want to add anything to the Neymar stuff, please do. But do you fear at all that Real Madrid basically having those funds available that they had kind of planned for Mbappe, even if it wasn't a free transfer, but which, I mean, look at the sign-on bonus he got from PSG. Now that they have those funds available, do you think it could make us, for example, trying to attract Tchouaméni more difficult? Obviously, they might also look at Paul Pogba. Would they want both? Probably not. So do you think it could be a hindrance for us in that way as well? Or do you think that's not going to be the biggest issue?
It's a difficult one, really, because obviously Madrid wanted to make a statement signing. It was going to be Mbappe. They've obviously missed out. They've got a lot of money to spend. Remember, they bid, like 180 million euros for him last summer? So Madrid have got that money, to spend. They've got a lot of money to spend. Players will probably leave as well. Maybe not for a lot of money, but they'll get rid of some players as well. They've got a lot of money to spend, and now they'll be determined to bring someone in that is going to be kind of a statement or a marquee signing. You look at that midfield, Casemiro, Modric, Kroos. They brought Camavinga in to try and, for the next cycle of that. Tchouaméni would be another good option to go in there. I mean, to be honest, I feel that we've kind of missed the boat on Tchouaméni now. Last summer was the chance to get him. 30, 40 million euros. Not that many other clubs are interested. We fucked about, chose Saul instead. And now A, it's double the price, and B, other clubs are interested. You see reports linking him to Liverpool. Real Madrid will be interested again. You think they're still phasing out Kroos, Modric and Casemiro, but if you were to get Tchouaméni in as well, you're then looking at Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, maybe Pogba on a free as well. You've got the next midfield for the next few years already coming into the club. So it is a concern that whilst also we can't negotiate with anyone because the ownership's still not quite gone through, we are at the moment, we do worry that we are falling behind because we can't negotiate with any players. That's my biggest concern, is that
Can I actually jump in there and ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you actually believe that, by the way? Because
although we can't negotiate with anyone.
Yeah. Obviously we can't bid and we can't officially sign anybody. We're all clear on that. But I do not believe for a single second we're not negotiating with people. It's the same as officially you're not allowed to talk to players before asking their clubs if they have more than 6 months left on a contract. And no one gives a shit about that rule either. Every few months or years, one club will say, but they did that wrong. They tapped this player up. Everyone does that. In my head, I'm like, if that was a serious concern, I feel like we would have tried to get that whole license already adapted quicker because everyone knows it's going to be Bowley anyway. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit naive there and I think too positively, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe that.
No, maybe not. Look, I think, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. There's no way of monitoring who the club, who agents, etc., speak to player-wise. I don't think you can control that. Obviously, nothing official can be done, but you see deals already being kind of concluded, transfer rumors heating up. And whilst this ownership still hasn't quite gone through yet, I do have a slight concern that we might be falling slightly further behind when we should be ready to, make these signings as quickly as possible, because it's going to be a busy market this summer. We need a lot of players. There's not a lot of players available of the required quality that's going to, help us bridge the gap to Man City and Liverpool. So we need to act fast and we need to act smart as well. So, I mean, Tchouaméni for me, I think I'd love him to come, but I just think that we might have missed the boat with him. As I said, double the price now, and other big clubs are interested. I mean, never say never. It's still possible. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think we just need to kind of be smarter. You know, the Neymar thing is a classic thing that Abramovich would have done. You know, like
I mean, it is reported that Bowley wants a super marquee signing. I mean, it doesn't get much more.
Well, if we could just get, I mean,
Neymar.
well, yeah, but maybe a Declan Rice could be more marquee. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'd rather have Declan Rice than Neymar this summer.
It would be better, but I'm not sure if it would be a bigger marquee signing. I can't lie.
No, maybe not. But like,
Globally,
like if we're going to spend money, I'd rather get Declan Rice than Neymar purely because of one, longevity, and two, it's actually a position we need to address more than Neymar coming in. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the summer because we need to bring a lot of players in. But yeah, until it goes through, I'm a slight worry that we just might be falling behind it a little bit and losing kind of key ground in negotiations and things like that.
I hear you, mate. I hear you. Clutch, let me take the similar question to you. Do you worry that Mbappe now staying at PSG and Real Madrid having those extra funds could make getting Tchouaméni even more difficult? I mean, you were one quite adamant for the last few weeks saying one of Rice or Tchouaméni has to come. It's not a question. So now do you think that's under even more jeopardy than it already has been?
Yeah. I mean, I guess after seeing what Mbappe did to Real Madrid, maybe it's not. But Tchouaméni and Rice, either one is an absolute must. We need to have that flexibility that if we need to switch to a back four, we can. But, you know, it's like Charlie said, maybe Real Madrid get it, and that's when we start looking more at the Rice. Rice is going to be very expensive, just like now Tchouaméni was, 80 mil? I don't think we would go for 150 mil on Rice. I think we would probably talk it down. But maybe we even use somebody like Broja as like a compensation because, I mean, Broja's not going to be here next year. Sorry to anybody who thinks he will because, I mean, you have Lukaku and Havertz staying. So what are you going to do with Broja? He's either going to leave on he's either going to leave on loan, which I don't think we'll do. I think we'll end up selling him this summer. But it's one of those things where I think we have to go in for him as soon as we can. I don't necessarily agree that we can't negotiate with players because I think we are still doing it. I think they say, hey, we'll do this as soon as the sanctions are lifted, much like Kounde, who is seemingly through the door as soon as Bully signs the papers. Like probably a couple of days after that, we'll have the Kounde confirmation. But yeah, I think it's about spending smart this summer in key areas. Like we still need to get those center backs to replace Rudiger and AC. And I know as much as Alex was talking trash about Colwell this morning, still think that he's a question mark. We got to see how he does next year. And that means we have to go for at least two center backs. We need a backup or a fill-in for Chile because he's not going to be – I wouldn't expect him to be up to speed until after the World Cup next year, if even longer than that. And then you still need another attacker to replace Werner or Pulisic or Ziyech, whoever leaves. Probably Werner, but we'll see. I mean, there's just a lot of question marks, so hopefully we can kind of get this thing done so we can start putting things into motion.
There you go. I mean, it's difficult. There's a lot to do this summer, and I don't think all of it will be done. So I'm more intrigued which part of it will be done, which parts will be focused on, if you will. Lewis, just quickly, do you reckon now that PSG keep Mbappe and Real Madrid have extra funds, they could steal Tchouaméni out from under our noses, or do you agree with Charlie that that boat might have sailed already anyway after we decided against it last summer? Lewis, yeah?
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, my mic's saying the piss. Right, I know we have to renegotiate because there's a new agency team that Tchouaméni has, but that was already the case last season because I remember seeing that we were in for talks for Tchouaméni, but his main preference was to stay in Ligue 1 because he wanted more game time so he could continue to develop his craft. So the only thing we could have potentially done better was just sign him and then loan him straight back for the season. I think that would have been the perfect scenario for us. But in terms of right now, like, I think we're still one of the front runners. There's just a lot more teams up for his signature, and we anticipated that anyway. So It's more just a case of if we want him, like, I don't know what the terms are, but I don't think it's anything that would be too much for us. So I'm not
Do
sure.
you think we can beat the attraction of Real Madrid if they actually go for him?
That's the thing. Like, if Madrid go in for him, then it is what it is, really. If he wants to go Chelsea, then he'll prioritize Chelsea over that. But I don't really blame any player for picking Real Madrid over us. But there's other
Kounde
options
is his
too.
best mate, apparently. So if we get that done, that might help.
Who?
Kounde is his best mate, apparently.
Oh yeah, Kounde, like we already know without a doubt he's coming. That's going to be the first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sorted.
So like, if we get Kounde, maybe that can convince Germany.
Maybe. Like, I don't think Madrid coming in absolutely muds us, but it all depends on how quickly we move in and what our terms are as well. But it's again just a case of speculation. We won't know until Chelsea actually make that move, and Chelsea won't make that move until the ownership situation is sorted. So until then, it is just another case of speculation. But we definitely can go. Yeah, it's a matter of days now, maybe a week or two, but we know it's coming. And as soon as that happens, then Kounde comes in, then we can start rolling on transfers. Then this becomes more than speculation because we'll have sources to look at. We'll know who Chelsea is after. But until then, I think it's all up in the air, but we're definitely going to be one of the front runners for Tchouaméni.
Hey, I hope so. I absolutely hope you're correct. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe. Big red subscribe button down below. More on that side, but even though I'm way too far over here anyway. Kind of like below Aaron. And on that very note, Aaron, I'll ask you just quickly your thoughts on that as well. It always becomes a problem when we have 5 people. Every topic takes a while. But first of all, because like I said, I haven't spoken to you about all those things in so much detail. Number 1, do you want Germany? Number 2, do you think Real Madrid now not getting Mbappe could be a problem in us getting Germany?
See, the thing with Tchouaméni is, do we want him at Chelsea? We all know what he's capable of. We've been saying it since last season when we were linked with him. We definitely need a DM, and I'd be more than happy with him. I think when you look at either Tchouaméni or Declan Rice, when you see the amounts that are being quoted, and you think about how much we need doing to our squad, the cheaper option sort of looks like it's going to be better for us. How much cheaper that is, we don't know. But obviously, English tax and whatnot with Declan Rice, you know it's going to be a lot more. Sorry, what was the second question? I missed there.
Well, basically, just whether you think Real Madrid now not getting Mbappe could mean they will chase someone like Tchouaméni harder.
I don't think so, actually, because when you think about it, they've got their midfield of Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric. If Tchouaméni went there, he's not going to slot into the starting 11. He's going to be a bench player at first. He's not going straight in there. He's not displacing Casemiro. If you think about it, if he came to Chelsea, he's more likely to get a lot more game time there because with Jorginho's agent flirting with Italy every 5 minutes and Kante's legs starting to give way and not really having much else in the midfield, the chances of him starting are a lot higher at Chelsea. And I think it was in an interview or something that Kounde did. He said that he wanted to play at club level with Tchouaméni. Now, with them being best friends, I don't know whether that does sort of have any impact, but that would be, I feel like it could be a big factor if your best mate is going to a club who you're also linked with and you both know you want to play at club level together. I think that could be a sort of a pull factor for him as well. But I don't think Real Madrid not getting Mbappe, having more funds, really makes that much of an issue for us, to be honest.
Fair play. Now, let's finally move on to something basically solely Chelsea focused. Charlie, like I said, we obviously discussed it to some extent yesterday on your channel already. But since then, I had the chance to watch everything back and not just read quotes of it, but watch it. Thomas Tuchel, after the game against Leicester on Thursday night, was speaking about N'golo Kante and how he's so important to us, and he's basically our Mo Salah, our Virgil van Dijk, our Kevin De Bruyne. Now, those quotes made it look exactly like that. If you actually watched it, you saw that he was also kind of not having to go at Kante himself, but having to go at the problem that comes with Kante at the moment, because he said that's how important he is. Problem is he's only available for 40% of the games. And he basically said, well, we need to find some sort of solution to that. It's not Kante's fault. He tries to be as fit as he can. Everyone's doing as much as they can, but he's basically saying it's a miracle that we have a player that good, but he's basically never available. So I'm still a bit baffled by him saying that. Now, Kante at his very, very best maybe is that. The problem is we haven't seen that Kante, I would argue, basically not all season. Maybe not since the Champions League final. And then it was a run of only the Champions League games. Because do any of you remember any particularly incredible league games by Kante last season? Maybe I just don't remember it. That's fair enough. but it just doesn't happen regularly enough anymore whatsoever. So Tuchel saying that was confusing to me. It was confusing to you as well, Charlie. But what do you make of it? Like, does that make you think Kante's definitely staying, getting a new contract and all sorts, or what do you think?
I think Kante will be offered a new contract. Whether he wants to sign it and stay is obviously down to him. He's been a world class for us in the first few seasons when he came. He's one of our most important players, and he was kind of first name on the team sheet. And those man of the match performances, in both legs of the semi-final and the final of the Champions League last year, was outstanding. But obviously, as he's getting a bit older and he's picking up injuries and he's not available for half the bloody games or less, his fitness is nowhere near what it used to be. It's got to a point now where, for me, he'd be worth keeping around for the odd top performance that he can put in a big game. But in terms of how important he actually is, I would argue that Kovacic is definitely more important to the side than Kante is right now. And you could argue perhaps a couple of others. You could maybe say that Jorginho could possibly. That might be ridiculous. Maybe slightly retract that, but it's
anyone that's available more than 70% of games.
Yeah, exactly. Kante at the moment. Yeah, Kante at the moment is more of a hindrance in terms of the fact that he's never available. And then when he used to most weeks from Kante get 7 or 8 out of 10 or higher, now you're getting a decent performance, maybe 1 in 5 games. Mate, we were at Wembley last weekend. All right, he was good in extra time. Mate, he was awful when he come on for that last 25 minutes. He was dreadful.
I completely agree. Yeah.
And that's kind of unheard of with Kante. Now, I think we should definitely keep him. I think he's worth having around. I don't know if that's Tuchel trying to big him up, give him a bit of confidence, make him feel more valued. It's been a difficult season. There's a lot of injuries. He's not performed as well as he should have done. And maybe it could be perhaps a indirect way of saying to the hierarchy that, look, we need to get this guy tied down to a new deal. It would have to be, I'd imagine that it would have to be perhaps it certainly wouldn't be on improved terms. It would be the same terms for me or less. And maybe at his age now, it's have to be rolling 1-year contracts. But I think he's worth having around for sure. But for me, he's definitely nowhere near as important to us as he has been in previous seasons.
For sure. Do you see at all a scenario where what he really needs is basically us to sign a midfielder, which allows us to not use Kante for 3-4 months straight while he's not properly injured, but actually get himself properly fit? And maybe once we allow him to do that, he manages to remain more injury-free and also get closer to his maximum potential, because he's 31, which is not young, and he's obviously played a lot of football. But you also got to remember Kante's career really kicked off very late. It's not comparable to a Mason Mount, a Phil Foden, a Wayne Rooney, who started their careers so early that by the time they, especially in Rooney's case, hit 30, they're on more than just a decline, right? I mean, look at him now. He's 36 and he looks like he's my grandpa, which is mental still. So Kante's not like that, really. Obviously, some bodies are different to others. But do you think if we just gave him the time off and to allow that, we would need someone that's actually properly good without selling him, without selling Kante then essentially?
Yeah.
Do you think that could bring it back, or do you think it's a bit of a lost cause to get to what we
I don't know if it's
from 2 years ago?
I don't know if it's a lost cause. I think it's important to realise that the Kante of old is, I don't think that's not, those performance levels on a consistent basis for me aren't going to come back. You might get them for the odd game or so every so often, but on a consistent basis, I think for Kante, is the decline has started now, and it's going downhill. We can still be useful, but I agree with you, Laurenz, that it could be more helpful if we had another body in the midfield, whether that's Conor Gallagher coming back, whether that's a midfield signing of Tchouameni, Rice, or another one potentially, I don't know who, and to kind of take the pressure off needing to get him back, because at the moment I feel like we need him back because of lack of options with other injuries in midfield as well, that we're rushing him back and he's not 100% fit. And that's kind of setting him back and affecting his performances. So I think that could be beneficial. Whether that will make a difference or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's definitely something worth exploring. But it's not a lost cause, but the decline has definitely started, in my opinion.
There you go. Lewis, let me take a similar question to you. Now, I'm sure you saw the quotes about from Tuchel about Kante. What did you think of them? Like, were you as surprised and almost confused about them as much as I was?
I'm hoping he just said that in the hope that other clubs would believe it and put in some transfer bids. Because other than that, like we've had this conversation numerous times. I don't even think Kante's been declining for the last 6 months. Think he's been declining for the last 18 months, and the run to the Champions League final just masked it all. Like last season, he was poor for numerous periods of the season, but it was just in the Champions League he delivered some iconic performances, which is more than fair enough. Like I will never try and take them away from him, but it did mask his overall performance throughout the season, and you could see a decline in the Premier League unless Jorginho was next to him. This season, though, like he's continued to decline, which is why, like, I know everyone's having the question of which one out of Jorginho or Kante should you keep or sell. To me, by far and away, it is keep Jorginho. Because, number one, we don't have a DM, and he's the closest thing we have to one. And we still need a DM whether we keep Jorginho or we sell him. It's just if we sell him, then we need 2 DMs. Then you take into account that next season's schedule is going to be one of the most physically demanding ones in football history. You take into account how packed the schedule is going to be all the way up to the World Cup, and then you include the World Cup on top. Jorginho's got a month off because Italy didn't make it, which means he could be very important to us for the second half of the season. I'd keep him on a 1-year deal if we really could. Now, obviously, he has to re-sign first. If he doesn't re-sign, then we have to sell. Our hands are tied. But on the Kante situation,
okay, so
I don't see him getting any better, especially with all these fixtures. Say that again?
So you definitely don't think if he doesn't renew, then we need to sell now and we can't let him go for free next summer?
We've been in this situation too many times with Rudy, AC, as
if we
Equator.
plan for it, it's fine. It's just if we don't plan for it, it's a problem.
No, but like now we don't have Roman as well. We have to be a lot more sustainable, which means if Jorginho doesn't re-sign, we have to try and make whatever we can off him now because we won't have a chance to next year. So number one, he does have to re-sign, but from the sounds of it, that's the main priority for him and his agent. So if that's the plan, let's get the contract sorted as soon as the ownership deal is done. And with N'golo Kante, respectfully, if offers come in for him, I'd let him go. Because without a shadow of a doubt, he's a Chelsea legend. But you got to take emotion out of these situations. And N'golo Kante, respectfully, is past his prime. We're barely getting 1 good performance out of 4 or 5 out of him anymore. Like, I'd only keep him if he took a massive pay cut and accepted that he's not going to be a priority in this Chelsea squad and he'd be used for depth. If we could get him on that sort of role, fair enough. You know what? I would keep him because I do think if you give him enough rest and you save him for big games or more open games where we're not facing teams that sit deep, there might still be a role for N'golo Kante in the squad. But I just think the performances you get out of him are just going to be too few and far between that unless he takes a rotation role, unless he takes a pay cut. It's just too much to ask for him on too much wages.
I hear you. Clutch. First of all, is your power working again? And secondly, what are your thoughts? Number one, again, obviously we touched on it quickly as we read it, the Tuchel's thoughts. But now, a couple of days later, what do you think of them? And what do you think is the call for action with Kante? Like, what should be done?
Sorry, just to say as well, like the comment section is actually the reason why I dislike Kante stands. As soon as you criticize them once, they get all offensive. The guy's been poor for 2 years. Get over it.
True. I don't disagree.
5 to 6 months. Are you taking a piss?
Why did you say that?
This guy Persh, like I don't know what he's talking about. 5 to 6 months. It's been 18 months.
There you go. Clutch, what do you think?
Well, my FIFA game just got ruined, so that's great. But no, I completely agree with Lewis. Remember, I said this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about if we should keep Jorginho or Kante, and I was the one who said we should probably keep Jorginho and let Kante go because his legs were leaving, and you could tell he just doesn't have it. He's got one good performance, like one elite performance, probably a year now, maybe a couple if he stays fit, but I said it last summer. We probably should have entertained offers for him last summer if it meant getting like a Tchouaméni or a Rice, because those are the young guys. Those are the guys that they're not obviously as good as Kante is, as at Kante's best. But we're at this point where older players are not going to necessarily, especially the type of role that Kante plays, and you can just see his legs going. Those are the types of players we need to seriously consider selling when we can, because their value is only going to diminish. Will we get a lot of money for Kante this summer? No, we won't. He's injury prone. He isn't looking as good. So for me, I think it is time to part ways with Kante. Keep Jorginho. We're going to have Gallagher coming back in, and then do your best to get one of the two DMs that we mentioned earlier. So that's where I sit. I'm 100% with Lewis on that.
Fair. Finish that topic off then. Aaron, what do you think? Now, number one, what did you think of the comments by Tuchel on Kante? But also, what do you think should be done with Kante? Should he stay? Should he go? I mean, on the one hand, we always say back the manager. So even if we have slightly differing opinions, if Tuchel was genuine about those comments, then you can't exactly take him away from him. That would kind of be the opposite of backing your manager. But if it was just down to you, do you think should be kept on? Should be given a new contract? I mean, I guess probably you're going to say it depends on which terms, which wages he agrees to. It probably plays a big part in whether we just want to keep him around or not. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat interesting because, firstly, on the comments, I think I understand where Tuchel's going with it, but we're talking about like Kante on his day, and he hasn't really had his day all season. So I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I think when you put it into perspective, he's not been that guy this whole season. So it's kind of like you can't really go off that comment too much, because if we haven't seen it for a whole season, then we don't know the next time that we're actually going to see Kante at his peak. But to go with the whole what do we do with Kante thing, I think it's interesting because we know that, unless I'm mistaken, I think Jorginho and Kante's contracts both expire at the end of next season.
Yes. Both
yeah. And knowing Chelsea the way that we do, if they were going to offer one of them a contract, it's more than likely going to be Kante and not Jorginho. So I think with that given, if they're giving Kante a new contract, it doesn't really make as much sense to me because he's injury prone, so he's not going to play as much. He needs a lot more time to recover from his injuries to then get back into the squad and actually be at a level where it's good enough for us. But because we've had so many midfield injuries this whole season, he hasn't had the time to recover from an injury enough to come back into the squad and be the player that we need. So it's difficult because we all have that sentiment towards Kante. We all love him and stuff. I know the fan base are very soft on him. As soon as you say a bad thing, they get all a certain way about it, which is quite annoying because if we can do it for other players, we can do it for him as well. He's a grown-ass man at the end of the day. But for me personally, I think you should be looking to keep Jorginho.
Well, only so far grown, you know?
Everybody still treats him like a child, and it's mind-blowing just because he smiles. I'm sorry. He is 31. He's older than 90% of our squad.
Exactly.
But it's not good. Call him out.
People.
It's okay to call somebody out. You do it for Pulisic. You do it for Cho. You do it for Havertz. But why don't you do it for Kante? It's no different.
Come on, man. You can't criticize Kante. He's a Chelsea legend. He's adorable, man. What are you doing? Come on,
like
man.
If Hazard comes back and Hazard drops stickers, everybody, but he's still Hazard. No. You got to call people out. If you're going to call it out for somebody, you got to say it. That's all you need to do is have it equal for everyone.
This is the thing, though. It's a lot of our fan base are just too soft on him, and we need to sort of face the facts that the prime Kante that we had, he's no longer here. And I don't think with his injury record and his legs slowly starting to give up a lot more as he gets older, I don't think we're ever going to see that again. So I think it'd be better for us, especially if we're only giving one a contract, not the other. I think it's better if we give it to Georgie and ship Kante off, because we're not going to get the most for him. 31, injury prone, aging legs. He can't give you a full season, that sort of thing. Obviously, he's Champions League Kante, he's Champions League Kante, but I think for what we need in our squad, I think Georgie's going to be a lot more key to that, especially when you look at who we've got coming back from loans, such as like Conor Gallagher can come into that squad and do a job where Kante is. So I think it'd be more important to keep Georgie and ship Kante off. But again, the fan base, I don't think that'd sit very well with them. I think they'd get a bit on our backs for saying that sort of thing, but I think it just needs to be said. So I don't know. Personally, for me, I think Kante, I think his time's done. He's a legend. We're never going to forget that. We're never going to feel a certain way once he leaves, because he'll always have that here. He's won most trophies there are to win, if not all. But I think his time's sort of coming to an end now.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, like people comparing Jorginho and saying, oh, Jorginho is going to be 30. The way Jorginho plays, it will be fine with his age because he doesn't rely on his fucking work rate. He relies on his position. He relies on his possession play. N'Golo Kante is meant to roam around and break up play. Say that again?
I said he's slow as shit anyway, so he can't get slower with
exactly. So like his game doesn't rely on pace. N'Golo does rely on pace, and he's got slower. He's not breaking up play as quickly as he used to. Jorginho's play will be able to react well with his age, and the reason why Kante is in this position is because of us. We ran him to the ground from 16-17 to 18-19 through injuries, through everything. We overplayed him to death. And after 18-19, when we forced him into the Europa League final on a knee brace, he hasn't been the same since. 19-20, he was in and out of the squad with injuries. 2021, he was poor other than the Champions League run. And this season, he's just been poor. So call a spade a spade. It is what it is.
But just to touch on that as well, I think when you look at our squad right now and the season that we've had, I think there's no question about it that Kovacic has shown, him and Kante are the ones that played the similar roles. And I think Kovacic has shown this season that role is his. There's Kante cannot rival him for that. That is his role for next season. He's in there no matter what. And I think that then shows you that, okay, if we've got Kovacic one side and we've got Jorginho the other, whether we bring in somebody who's similar to Jorginho in the sense that a bit more defensive, whether they then start ahead of him, whether they're backups and stuff, that's yet to be seen. It depends who we bring in. But I think when you've got Kovacic on that right side nailed on, and you've got a more than capable backup in Conor Gallagher coming back from his loan, you might have Mason Mount dropping as a triangular three just behind two strikers at times. So you still got that extra body in midfield. I think that kind of tells you if we've got these specific players on our books, I think it kind of shows the door to Kante a bit more because we don't really need him as much as a lot of people think we do.
Yeah. And Lewis, everyone did about 3 weeks ago.
You know what? I say reactionary merchants. I said it was a good run of form, and that was it. Like when it comes to our attack, they're all bums, every single one of them. Mount's just the best out of a bad bunch. I don't rate anybody else in there.
Nah, bro, it's not even wrong. It's not even wrong for me. Kante. Now I sit in the middle. More leaning towards where Aaron and Lewis are and Clutch are most definitely sat. I don't think you can say he was bad in every single game this season. There have certainly been a few games where he was good, but never. And I think that's the weird thing. The people that really, really like Kante, it makes me even more confusing because if you like Kante, you should remember his great performances even better than I do, right? So then when you see him play this season, how can you be happy with that? How can you not say, what's happening? We need to do something. That's the part that confuses me. Like, I get supporting a player. I totally understand. I do the same with Ruben, don't I? Go on.
They're not even watching the game. They're hearing about the performances and they just think Kante's brilliant when in reality he isn't.
I don't think it has anything to do with whether you like Kante or not, because I think the whole fan base, everyone likes Kante or loves Kante as a player, but I think you have to bring that sense of realism into it and watch the game with your eyes and see that it's just not the same anymore. So you can't, although we might love him as a player and stuff and for what he's done for the club, I think we just have to get a bit realistic now and get a bit brutal with it because he's not at that level anymore. No fault of his own with his injuries and stuff, but he's just not there.
There you go. I mean, yeah. Obviously, at the end of the day, we can give our opinions. We won't have the decision anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it will be down to Tuchel and the higher-ups of the club, whoever those decision makers will be in the end. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Do we give him a new contract? Do we not? Do we keep him even without a new contract? We'll see. Is there anything else newsworthy to talk about? Lewis, you mentioned it in the title on your stream earlier. So maybe you know better than I do because I haven't been able to be on the socials all that much today until I saw the Neymar stuff and I was like, change the thumbnail, change the title. But apparently we're willing to pay full price for Jules Kounde. Where exactly?
Yeah, Andreas Christensen put that out yesterday. Chelsea are willing to pay full price for Jules Kounde. Again, it just waits until the ownership situation's done, but it's not really a change in anything. Like, we knew we were getting Kounde anyway. The only topic was the negotiations, but it's just a step in the right direction. The only news is that and Broja getting a lot of interest from rival clubs, but that's just it, really. There's not much else.
Yeah, you go. I swear AC Milan, by the way, have been linked to every single striker under the sun this summer. Like, number one, don't they have like 3 of them already? I mean, fair enough. One's 40 and one's
If they send
35.
Giroud back, you know what? Maybe we can talk.
Hey, ship Lukaku off to AC Milan. That'd be so funny. I kind of really want Lukaku to go to AC Milan, just so like the whole world will hate him. Like everyone will hate him. If he goes to AC Milan, everyone hates the guy. He's finished. And we get Giroud back. Hey, but am I a big fan of Giroud? As people are aware, no. But shall we move on to tomorrow's game so we actually get talking about that? Lewis, I know you only popped in, so do you want to leave before we talk about tomorrow's game, or are you going to stick around?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say I need to dip in 5 minutes anyway. But yeah, big up everyone that's locked in as always. Smash the like and subscribe. And yeah, big up to the panel as well. Love, guys. Take care.
Cheers, bro. Take care. Have a good one. And everybody subscribe to Lewis's channel, please. As well as mine. And smash the like button. Now, talking about tomorrow's game, one thing we need to decide first and foremost is what formation are we going to play? Clutch. Do you think tomorrow is a day for the back four?
I would always play the back four, but am I confident that Tuchel will? No. But if it's my team, I'm playing the back four.
Charlie, obviously we spoke about it yesterday on your channel. I kind of convinced you into it, but if it was your own pick, would you pick the back four tomorrow just to, try something?
I mean, to be honest, it's a dead rubber game. I don't really care what formation we play, so if it's a 4, I'm quite happy to go with it. It's not an important game. There's nothing on it. It's basically going to be like a pre-season match, isn't it? So yeah, I'm happy to roll with a 4.
Fair dues. Aaron, what about you? Back 4, you're a fan of that? Do you prefer the back 3? What do you think?
Most pointless game we've had in God knows how many seasons. It literally does not matter. Give me that back 4.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh yeah, one thing I kind of wanted to hint on a little bit is the whole Antonio Rudiger #1 article and then the whole interview, which was basically the article, but a bit more. I know. Let me actually get this back off screen so we can discuss this quickly and people don't think we're talking about other things. What do you make of it, Clutch? Did you watch the video as well, or did you only read the article?
I only read a little bit of the article. I mean, I stayed off Twitter and all that yesterday for the most part, so I didn't even know. But I did see some quotes he said where he was talking about he's heard the abuse, but it doesn't matter because the light shines brighter through the darkness, which is a very good quote. I mean, in the last, especially year, he's been one of our biggest players, if not our biggest, one of the biggest reasons why we won the Champions League. So if this is what he wants, and I mean, it sounds like he's going about it properly. I'm not too fussed about it. Like, congratulations, go get the paycheck, go earn, go do whatever you got to do at Real Madrid, and we thank you. But that's all I have. He will be missed. The picture he just put out not too long ago with what it seems to be all the misfits of the club except Mendy and Kova. But yeah, it's bittersweet because, I mean, we're going to end up having to rebuild without him. But it's just one of those things that happens in the game.
It's a weird one because obviously if you haven't watched the interview, fair enough, or the video. Now, the article was one thing. From the article, my main takeaway was, why is the article about when Rudiger is trying to address the fans about him leaving? Why was he talking about Kante for half of it? Didn't really understand. But then watching the video, I enjoy quite a few parts of it. I find it hilarious how people will obviously, Rudiger's obviously picked to say what he wants to say. Of course, he only spoke about, there was no contact for 5 months. Did he aim to look for that contact? Because he's saying in a way, if Chelsea wanted me to stay, well, but the perspective is if you really wanted to stay. But of course, the offer that came in January or whenever it was, the £230,000, which he turned down, and he said that talks went okay, as he worded it in that interview. And then the sanctions hit. Now, I did like a few things that he said. He remembers one thing forever when we lost 6-0 at City on the Sarri. And he went over to the fans after the fact and tried to apologize. And everyone was clapping and everything. And then there was one individual who, kept throwing abuse at him. And Rudiger himself weren't having it. And he was like saying to him, what are you doing? Like, come down here then if you want to have a chat type thing. And then he mentioned how a lot of the Chelsea fans around that individual were like, what the fuck are you doing? He's coming here to apologize. Like, stop having a go at him type thing. And even the guy kind of stopped. And he mentioned that as a kind of an emotional moment for him, which, especially when you know what he's been through with fans in Italy, not necessarily his own fans. I'm not 100% aware which sides it's always came from in his time there. But I can understand why he would feel quite emotionally attached to moments like that. And it's good to hear. I also really want to highlight the fact that whether he said the whole truth, whether he said his own truth, whether there's two sides to every story, the fact that he made that interview, it's a 10-minute video, man. That's longer than we got a Lukaku apology for his interview with Sky, right? Rudiger, out of his own incentive, made a 10-minute interview basically just for us, because he's not doing it for his own benefit, is he? I respect that a lot. There's not a lot of players that leave, especially when they've been here for a while, but not like stupid amounts of time. They've had ups and downs, not like he was always loved, like I don't know, John Terry or whatever. For him to do that, I respect it a lot. I admire him a lot for it. I'm still annoyed that he's leaving, but yeah, it is what it is to some extent. It's the biggest annoyance to me is still that he's leaving for free rather than that he's leaving full stop, if that makes sense. Aaron, did you happen to see the interview or the video?
Yeah, I remember watching parts of it, but I think from what I took out of it, you could see just how much Chelsea actually means to Rudiger. And I know a lot of people started to question that when he was turning down the contracts and stuff, but when you see him actually speaking from the heart and literally just saying exactly what it is that he feels and what he thinks about situations, you can kind of see like there was an element of him that showed that he really did want to stay, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. And whoever's fault that is for him, either him turning down a contract or Chelsea not coughing up what they needed to, that's obviously open interpretation for whoever wants to have their opinions about it. But I think even when you look at his contributions, like the work that he was doing in the hospital, the one that he visits every now and then, I think he visits it a few times a season or something I was seeing, but he went there, said his goodbyes and saw the staff and the children and whatnot. You can kind of tell that the character that he is, he's a big character on the pitch and the dressing room and stuff, but he's also got a side to him which is very compassionate, loving, and he shows back to the community and all of the fans and stuff. So I think he is going to be a big missed asset, because seeing him on the pitch in the last season, finally unlocking that bit of Rudiger that we needed in our team, and having it just taken away from us after one season only it's a real shame. And I think even if a player wants to leave, it's always better to get some money for them. Like selling Rudiger could have literally funded us buying Kounde back. Well, not buying back, but you get what I mean. Like exactly, that literally could have been the funds to buy Kounde. So it's a real shame, but I think obviously he won't go down as a legend, but he'll go down as like one of those folk heroes sort of thing, just for what he done in the Champions League final last season and sort of the rock that he's been for us. So obviously, we as Chelsea fans, we should be just wishing him the best for his time at Madrid, but it's going to be a big loss.
It will be. It will be. One other thing I really appreciated from the video as well is, obviously we could see it on the pitch with maybe one or two games as an exception, but I'm always hesitant to say when someone's playing badly and they're about to leave, I'm always hesitant to blame that for it. I'm like, if he wasn't leaving, what would you blame for it? And he could just as much have played badly. It happens. Every player has a bad game, no matter how great the player is. Even the greatest players have bad games. It happens. But I did really appreciate how he said he went out of his way to say specifically to Tuchel, to Marina, and to Petr Cech that no matter what happens with the contract, whether he ends up staying or not, whether he ends up finding an agreement or not, he will always give it 100%. He will always make sure he doesn't cause issues. He won't be like late. He won't be causing drama off the pitch. He won't be causing drama at training. Based to me, hinting at, I won't be doing things like Lukaku did. And not only did he clearly say that and go out of his way to tell them that, he also seemingly stuck by it. And I appreciate that a lot, because there's a lot of players, especially when they're, with the hype around them, not in terms of young talent, but in terms of, especially, obviously, I watch a lot of German media, live in Austria, and we get, I watch Premier League through Sky Germany, right? So they always say, the best German defender and everything. So, there was a lot of hype about him, and he still didn't let himself get sucked into the fact that he could, push for this, or I'm better than this, and I can go here, I can go there. I mean, I appreciate that. Charlie, did you get a chance to see the interview? Because obviously we spoke about the quotes, but like I say, the quotes, and that's why I always say, and too many people, unfortunately, only stick to reading quotes, and I think it's a really bad thing that kind of Twitter is turning everybody into. Don't only read quotes. Quotes only tell you barely half the story. The mimics and the gestures and the way people say things make such a big difference to some random person on Twitter tweeting the quotes and you thinking you have a full gist of it. Obviously, if you don't have the time to watch things, you don't have the time to watch things. But I'm saying, if you do, I always recommend it to everybody, whether that's press conferences, whether that's interviews, watch all of them. But Charlie, did you get a chance to watch it? Otherwise, we'll move on to the game.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I think, really echo what Aaron was saying. The guy, despite whatever's happened, that's his version of events. The club's version of events might be different, but there's no reason for him to come out and lie when he's about to leave. He's been a great servant to the club. He's been an outstanding performer for us since Thomas Tuchel's come in. He could have easily left where things were difficult under Lampard. He decided to stay when he could have gone. Rumours are going to PSG. Maybe Tottenham even as well. He stayed. He's given 100% every time he stepped on the pitch. The fact that, that he went back to Chelsea and Westminster Hospital to say goodbye to the people that he used to visit every time he'd go there. It's just a nice touch, just a human side to him. The club means a lot to him. The fans love him. Legend is reserved for very few players. He's definitely a cult hero and he'll be very fondly remembered. But yeah, I think he's handled himself in an exemplary way. Players move on. It happens, Better players than Rudiger will come to Chelsea and leave Chelsea. It's the way it goes. At the end of the day, there's ways of handling things, and I think he's handled it perfectly, really. No hard feelings at all, and all the best to him at Madrid. But it'll be a big miss, and it'll be hard to replace.
There you go. And I will say something again. I was obviously on Charlie's preview yesterday. By the way, subscribe to his channel. Link is down in the description. Now we get to 500 subs ASAP. It's not that far off, so we can make
nice.
That
needs 30 more people to do it.
Exactly. And we've put plenty over 30 people here right now. So go subscribe to Charlie's channel, please do. Nearly suffocated then. My apologies. Back four. It's what we kind of half agreed on. Now, yesterday on your channel, in your preview, I was like, don't want to see none of Rudiger. Then I watched the interview. I'm like, because in the end I picked Sarr instead. I'm like, that ain't worth it. So I changed my mind and put Rudiger back in my head now. So we'll get
let's give him that second minute substitution. To remember him.
Maybe let's do 20th at least. If it's down to lose, we sub Rudiger off in the second, Christensen off in the fourth.
Yeah, and then we take
Kante off in the 28th, and off we go. And
then we can take Kante off in the 7th.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's not even allowed to come off. Oh, bloody hell. But boys, why don't I start with you, Clutch? In goal. Now, whether Kepa ends up leaving or not, Tuchel also spoke about that. Basically said it's mostly down to Kepa himself. Do you think he should play? Or do you think it's Mendy? I think he should play. Number one, it's his last game. Hasn't done anything wrong. Should have played arguably more for how poor Mendy has been at times anyway. And if he does have a decent game, even if it doesn't matter for much, maybe it's, I don't know, that one bit easier to milk that 1 million, 5 million extra out of a club we're trying to sell to. So I'd go for it. But would you, Clutch?
Put him in, sub him out in the first minute. No, go ahead and do it. Yeah, play him.
There you go. Aaron, would you play him or would you stick with Mendy?
No, I think I play Kepa because for me it's like when Mendy plays and he has a bad patch of form and stuff, it takes a lot for people to criticize him. But when it was Kepa playing and he was going through bad patches of form and stuff, everyone was very quick to jump on him. And I feel like he was very unjust with that. And especially when we've had opportunities to play him and we haven't, I do feel sorry for the guy. And if it is going to be his last game, you stick him in. It's a meaningless game. We don't go up, we don't go down from it. And I think just give him that game. If he leaves in the summer, at least he's got another Chelsea cap to his name.
I agree. And you actually make a good point about the whole goalkeeper thing. And I just think Kepa was kind of he just suffered from the fact that our two previous goalkeepers were Petr Cech and Thibaut Courtois. As much as we hated Thibaut Courtois with the way he left, still a phenomenal goalkeeper. And obviously the same more so goes for Petr Cech. And he was kind of the next one after. So he was always going to be held to such a ridiculously high standard. While Mendy...
It's also the price tag.
Of course, the price tag played a part too. But still, all Mendy had to do was be better than Kepa. Mendy didn't have to be as good as Cech and Courtois anymore. Mendy just had to be better than Kepa for us to be happy with it. So he, even in that sense, had it way easier. But Charlie, you sticking with Kepa as well still, yeah?
Yeah, full house on that one. I think he deserves a chance to play one more time for the club. He's not really done anything wrong when he's been called upon by Tuchel. Seems like a nice guy. Doesn't cause any issues within the squad. Yeah, give him a send-off for sure.
There you go. Now, yesterday, like I said, I stick with you, Charlie. I said, don't play Rudiger. I changed my mind. Do you agree with my changing of mind, or would you still leave him out?
Oh no, I'd play him. I mean, I would have played him anyway. I just felt like I'd let you have the final say.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd play him. I'd do exactly what you've done there. Him and Chalobah. Whether we'll see that or not is up for debate. But yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. For me, there's not really much point in playing Thiago Silva. He's played the most games I think he's played in his career, or second most in one season. Christensen
the most even, unless
could be the most. Yeah, I mean, who knows if Christensen's going to be ready to play or whatnot. So yeah, I'd go Chalobah.
Hey, Christensen seems to do well when he comes off the bench, like in the Champions League final. So maybe he can come on.
Yeah, that's my lineup. Yeah, them two in the back four for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Chalobah is the one that's absolutely guaranteed anyway. He's the one that's going to be here next season. And he's young and arguably hasn't played as much as he probably should have done. Especially once we knew that the Rudiger Christensen ones were up in the air. Heavily up in the air. Clutch, Rudiger and Chalobah as the back two for you. Would you still leave Rudiger out? Or because my problem on Charlie yesterday, I was like, okay, even if I want to leave Rudiger, who do I play instead? Do I really care that much for Malang Sarr? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Malang Sarr is better than Levy Colwell, isn't he?
By the way, big shout out. As much as people are taking a piss and, you know, poor Alex, he's not equipped for Chelsea FT. He's just a footballer, you know. What's the word? Analyst. That's the word. Analyst. He's just a football analyst. He's not ready. He's not been hardened by Chelsea football Twitter. He can't hack it. So leave the poor guy alone. But we will actually have Alex on the channel in a week's time, next weekend, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, I don't know yet. But we will have him on. We'll talk about Chelsea transfer targets and what he thinks of them. And then we will give him the chance to elaborate a little bit what exactly he meant about the whole Colwell, Gvardiol, Sarr conversations. Yeah. We'll give him that chance. Well, sorry, Clutch, go
on. Yeah, Rudiger, Chalobah. Maybe a shot for Aspie in the middle, but we'll give him the right back. So
I'm playing him right back, but we'll get to that. Fair. Aaron, then, that you're centre back two as well, or would you like to leave Rudiger out because he's leaving?
Oh, no, I think at first I was very sceptical about Rudiger, purely based off the fact that he's going on a free. But then after reading the quotes and sort of watching the video of his interview and stuff, I think it's only fitting that we give him like this game as his send-off, because
especially
he's done a lot
after the fans saw that. I feel like it's important to give him another game after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think beforehand, before that interview, if you ask fans, the majority of them would have said, "Nah, he's leaving, don't play him, whatever." But I think after that, now you've seen what he has to say, how he feels about it all. I think that's more of a basis for you to make a level-headed judgment and say, you know what, he's leaving. This is his last game. Give him that send-off, because he's done a lot for us in the last year. He's effectively been a big part of us winning the Champions League. So I think it would be kind of unfair for us not to give him that send-off. So I'd play him with Chalobah.
There you go. What about the fullbacks then? I'll just turn the order around. I'll throw mine out there just to make it a bit easier for you guys. I would play Lewis Hall at left back. I know he's not a real left back, but I mean, he played left centre back in that one game before Christmas against Brentford in the Carabao Cup. Played left centre back. He's more of a centre mid / left wing back, so left back is in this formation closest to it. I think he needs a game. I mean, the one game he did play the full game of was man of the match. Don't go better than that. And Aspie, I've given him a send-off, basically. That's why I'm playing Aspie and Reece James. I mean, he's been struggling with injuries anyway, and there's nothing to gain from this game. So just let Reece chill. Do you know what I mean? Maybe sub Aspie off and bring Reece on for him, if that's what we want to do. But those would be my two fullbacks, Aaron. Would you agree? Would you stick to left backs makes it even more difficult. Then you don't even have that Saul option like we do at wing back, which then kind of makes it Alonso, Malang Sarr, or kind of Lewis Hall. So which one would you pick then? Because for me, Tuchel must. I'm not saying 10 or 5, but a couple of youngsters got to start, man. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. Those fullbacks, I think I'd put Kennedy higher in the pecking order than Alonso for this game, because we know Alonso's gone. Like we know he's not sticking around.
Kennedy,
that's how desperate I am just not to see Alonso. We know he's going. He's been shit for the majority of his time. Yeah. He's not one of them that needs to send up. He's won everything, cool, but. Yeah, that guy, after last game, I can't do it to myself. So I'd definitely go Lewis Hall. I think when he played, was it Chesterfield? I think it was. He was brilliant.
Brentford, remember in that cup game?
Oh, yeah. No, he was brilliant then as well. Like the kid's shown when he's been given the opportunity that he can do it. So I think giving him that opportunity when it's a nothing game, a little bit less pressure on him, just to go out there and enjoy himself, I think that'd be good for him. And Aspie on the right, captain, leader. We all love him, but it's going to be sad to see him go. I'm pretty sure he's going to leave at this point, but it'd be great to give him a send-off and then sub him off at a certain point in the second half so all the fans can give him a clap and stuff, just as you do, really. But I'd go with them too.
Fair dues. Clutch, what about you? Would you pick them too? Would you pick a Kennedy or Alonso over Lewis Hall on the other side?
Maybe Alonso just for the send-off, but...
Nah, that guy's not getting
Nah, come on now.
He's had 4 years of send-off. He should have been sold.
Mate, play him centre forward.
All that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. No problem. No, but you know what? I said that to Charlie yesterday. The only reason why I maybe wouldn't want to do that is because I'm scared it would work and it gives him another lifeline at the club and I just want him gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Lewis Hall. Let's see him. I'm down for it.
There you go. And Aspie on the other side, you were kind of talking about Aspie in the middle.
Yeah.
So does that mean not Aspie on the right?
No, Aspie on the right. Yeah.
There you go. Now, moving into midfield. No, actually, Charlie, do you agree on those two? Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Aspie's going to play. It's most likely his last game for the club, so he deserves it. It's just a shame it won't be a full ground because of because of the sanctions. That's a bit of a shame. And yeah, Lewis Hall for me.
By the way, obviously, we're not allowed to make money. So could we have not given away the ticket for free?
I don't know if that was allowed. I've seen people saying that on Twitter. I'm not sure if it's actually we're even allowed to do that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, I'd like to see Lewis Hall given a go against a higher level of opposition because if we're not going to test him in this game, when are we going to test him? When's going to be a suitable opportunity to do it? So I think it's important that he does play tomorrow, whether that's at left back, whether that's at centre back, or whatever it is. I think he needs to play.
Fair. Let's move into midfield. That's where myself and Charlie kind of struggled the most yesterday because the main question is, does Jorginho play or not, really? Now, Aaron, why don't I start with you? Would you start Jorginho? Just because if we play this formation, we need some single six. And that kind of leaves us with two options, and that's Ruben and Jorginho.
Nope.
Now, Ruben, none of us are probably big fans of him there, but he can do a job. But even if you do that, who does that leave here? Because Kova's out. Kante, I mean, we just spoke about how we maybe need to give him 3-4 months off straight to get him back. So ideally, I wouldn't play him. Barkley, I don't want to see anything of, if I'm honest. So that, to me, says I would just throw my three out there just because we've been here for a while anyway, and then you could just all give your three. My three would be Jorginho as the 6, Ruben and Mount as the 8. That would be mine. I mean, Mount didn't play the last game. That's why I play him in this one. That's what I think. I mean, maybe someone make a shout for Charlie Webster and stuff. But if I'm honest, Charlie Webster is one of those that I haven't seen enough to really judge whether I think he warrants this or not. So that's maybe just my bad, and I should see more of the academy. But from the stuff I know of, this is probably the midfield I'd go for. Just, again, be a bit attacking. Who cares? Even if we concede 17 goals, who gives a shit? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, Aaron, is that your midfield three? Would you like to see Ruben as the 6 and then, I don't know, throw a Barkley or Soul in there and give Soul a send-up?
I don't know who you think I am for me to want to put Barkley or Soul anywhere near my starting 11. But not a chance. Now, see, I think the 6 is the most difficult one because if we play a single 6, the way that Tuchel's talked about Ruben and his best position being a single 6, I fear that that's what he'd do. But if it was me personally, I play Jorginho in the 6th, and then I play Loftus-Cheek, and I'd actually play Charlie Webster. Because
instead of Mount?
What's that, sorry?
Instead of Mount, or would you play Mount in the front three?
We'll get to Mount later, whether he plays or not, but I would play Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, and Webster because I think we want to integrate the youth into this side. And Charlie Webster's had an opportunity before. I don't think he had too much. I can't remember if he had much game time or not, but I think
maybe.
Yeah, but I think of the youth names that we know who have been in the squad before and stuff, that's just sort of what I'm trying to go off. But I think Mason Mount will probably end up playing further up anyway. So I think if we're talking about integrating the youth, trying to get them involved a bit, what better chance now than Watford, meaningless game. Just stick some of the youth in, just inject it into my veins. Give me Charlie Webster as well.
There you go. Hey, I back it. Charlie, now Aaron's thrown in a bit of a slightly more rogue shout. Would you go along with the rogue shout? Maybe that means Mount starting in the front three. Remember how we were yesterday? We're like, well, probably would probably want to see in the front three.
Yeah, I'd probably, if we're going to play this 3-man system in the midfield, I'd rather have Mount in there because I want to play Harvey Verde on that right-hand side. So I'd rather have Mount in the middle with Ruben. I'd love to see Ruben play as an 8, but I know if we play this 3-man midfield and Jorginho doesn't play, Ruben's going to play as the 6. It's just the way it goes. It's what Tuchel does. But yeah, mate, I'd stick with that. Loftus-Cheek, Jorginho, and Mount in there. Definitely don't want to see Ross Barkley, and I don't want to see SALAH. So yeah, it gives those 3 choices. And I think, Tuchel, if youngsters are going to start, I think it's more likely to be Hall and Vale and maybe soon start Bell rather than Webster. That's just my personal preference, really.
Yeah, no, in terms of likelihood, I think you're definitely not far off there. But hey, I would love it if Webster got a chance. If I'm honest, I would love it. Clutch, midfield 3. What do you reckon?
I'm going to make a little bit of a ridiculous shout.
All right.
I want James as my 6.
Oh,
James is your 6. Oh,
no.
I
You might end up with number 10 mid-game.
I want to try something ridiculous. I want to put James there and then Mount and Ruben ahead of him.
I'm here for it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I love Georgie, but I said I want to use this game to try things. And also, I mean, obviously, Tino Livramento did his ACL, so who knows what player he's going to be, even by the time we have the buyback clause. But hey, if we want to convince Livramento to join us, making James play midfield will certainly help. So, it's a shout, man. I don't hate it. Let's get to the front 3. Now, obviously, we've agreed Alonso starts up top. Now, Harvey Vale plays for me. I'm not sure whether on the left or on the right. Now, he's played both for us this season, so I'm not sure which is his drastic preference. Play him wherever he prefers. I don't really care, but I want him to start. That's for damn sure. He seems to be, from the current crop of players that are still at Cobham and not loaned out, anywhere, the most talented one, probably. And those are the ones we need to look after. Those are the those are the Kalamatadois, the Mason Mounts, the Tammy Abrahams, the Tamoris, the Chalobahs. That's Vale, right? So, if we want to have these guys in the team, we need to give them chances, and no better day than tomorrow. The only thing I'm not sure about is that one over here now, because I put Mount in midfield. Clutch might hate me for this, but I'm going to pick Ziyech. I think he's done enough in terms of work rate to warrant another start. At the same time, I also, a bit like I said with Mount after the missed penalty against Liverpool, I said he should really start the next game. Of course, he didn't even get come on, which I still find to be poor man management personally. So on that on that note, I guess, maybe I want to stick with Pulisic in the team just to, after his bad miss and him clearly feeling bad about it and everyone's getting on his back. Maybe I want to give him another chance, because this is like, if this was in mid-season, I wouldn't play him the next game. But because this is the last game of the season, I think I might change my mind and want to give him another game. As much as that's maybe harsh to Ziyech, but he doesn't have that whole, I fucked it up really badly last time problem. And I just want to give him a chance to redeem that. If he doesn't take it, he doesn't take it, but we need to give him the chance. By the way, I'm obviously not serious about Alonso starting up top. Picking Kai Havertz. But I think that's what I'd pick as the front 3 myself. Charlie, what do you reckon? I know you said yesterday you would like to see Hakim Ziyech play. Yeah. Because he obviously played well last game. But do you see what I'm saying in terms of...
Yeah.
Pulisic was obviously really down and maybe needs that chance to redeem it.
But then all the forwards would have been down for basically the whole season because they all missed so many chances. So, like, I get what you're saying a little bit. I personally go... The only difference I'd have is obviously Hakim Ziyech. And then part of me also thinks, having said Havertz yesterday, I don't know if it would be a good opportunity to try and give Lukaku some confidence, get a couple of goals to head into the summer break with just to end the season on a bit of a high. I mean, I'm not saying he would definitely
I also want to give that to Havertz, though. I think he now needs more than Lukaku.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd probably just go Havertz, but I wouldn't be against Lukaku starting either.
Yeah. At the end of the day, bro, I don't care if it's, mate, as long as it's not Timo Werner and he's injured.
Yeah.
Not really that bothered, if I'm honest. But there you go. So we have that for now. I'll keep Clutch to last because I'm intrigued to hear his thoughts on should Pulisic start, and if so, why and why not. But Aaron, what's your front 3? What do you think of mine and Charlie so far?
See, I get what you guys are saying, but if it was me personally, because I put Charlie Webster in my midfield, I'd go with Mount off the right, Harvey Vale off the left, and then Havertz in up top. But my reason being is starting Charlie Webster and then eventually at a certain point in the game, subbing him off for Ziyech, so then Mount can drop back into midfield as Ziyech goes off that right side. So for me, I would play Mount and Harvey Vale, because Harvey Vale, like you said, he's the most sort of promising youth player that we've got at the moment. And I think giving him that chance to get into the first team this weekend would be quite interesting to sort of see what he's got about him going just before the season ends, going into pre-season sort of thing, to then sort of assess what we do with him, whether we keep him around here, whether he goes out on loan somewhere or something. So it'll be a good indicator to see what he's got in his locker.
There you go. I back it. I mean, it might look weird on screen to everybody watching right now that we have 3 people on one side, but hey, that's what happens when you have 4 different opinions. And I've only asked 3 people so far. But yeah, by the way, guys, again, subscribe, please. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, and smash the like button for me. Just one click of a button. Doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time, and really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, because the more likes are on things, it thinks, oh, this is super engaging. Everyone loves this. So then they show it to more strangers. Which is how YouTube channels grow. So please do smash the like. And every time you're here, please just smash the like. Really helps me out a lot. But Clutch, now, would you, I presume you would, but do you share my thoughts on why Pulisic should get another star just so he can redeem it? Or do you, as much as you're a big fan of him, almost think that's the opposite of what he deserves, so he just should not play full stop?
It's interesting because I'm in between 2 minds. I do think, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, get him out of the club. He will be here next season when we start. So whether you like that or not, get over it now. So at that point, maybe we should try in the last game of the season to make sure he goes into the off season with a little bit more positive attitude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unfortunately for him, he's not going to get time off. So he's got a whole bunch of United States games in June. He'll have to play the preseason here when they come here in July. So, I mean, for him, he's unfortunately not going to have very much time off. So maybe it is.
He'll still get plenty of time off in the summer without tournaments, mate.
Could
still be off for like a month.
Don't we come back in August though? Aren't we coming back in August, like mid-August?
No,
early August?
July. We'll come back to preseason for July. But I swear that internationals are like, so we have the Champions League final, and the week after is the internationals, and then we have 1 or 2 weekends of internationals, so then mid-June we're done. So from mid-June until whenever training starts in July, they're all off, I think.
I think he's got 5 games, though.
5 games? The US always do things wrong, man. Stop letting I mean, maybe this time, in January, they played in minus 20 degrees. Now they're probably going to play in Dallas at 50 degrees. You know what I mean? Like, you let these poor humans live, man. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, he's my favorite player. I'm going to put him in there. I'm going to use some bias at this point. I don't use it very often, so I'm going to do it for once. I wouldn't put Mount in the front 3 because, I mean, that is a winger position when we do this formation. So, and I just, Mount as a winger
if it's
to me
make
is like,
space for Webster midfield, I'm okay with that.
Maybe.
But in general,
I guess it's a day. Yeah, the game doesn't matter, so why not? But yeah, definitely Vale and Havertz. I'm going to use my bias for Pulisic. That is definitely going to happen.
You're allowed to use your bias. You're making it very clear that if anything, I think you sometimes go too harsh against your own bias because you think you'll be called biased otherwise. So, hey, you do you, my bro. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have that kind of part of that done. So let's get into a score prediction. Not that it matters whatsoever, but the question is, will we win 9 home games in the Premier League this season at Stamford Bridge? Will we, Aaron? Do you think we're going to win? And just an actual score prediction, not just win, yes or no.
6-0, absolute field day, Havertz hat-trick. That's it. That's all I need to say.
Why not 6 goals?
Listen. Havertz isn't going to get all of it. Lukaku's going to come on and get a hat-trick as well. We're going to pump them. We are pumping them, I'm telling you now. We're going
Havertz
out
hat-trick, Lukaku hat-trick, Pulisic misses 7 sitters.
Listen, some things are just written in the stars, aren't they? Sorry, Clutch.
You're a funny guy. You're a funny guy, right? Clutch, what do you think?
Hey, all I'm saying is...
Are you going to go as rogue as Aaron?
We'll do 4-0. We'll say 4 Mount goals because he usually scores against the bottom 3, doesn't he?
True. Yeah. Charlie, then. What did you say yesterday? What was it, 3-1?
I think it was 3-1 yesterday. Maybe might add an extra goal for us because last day of the season, pressure's off. Maybe our forwards might actually put the ball in the goal. So I'll go with the 4-1.
There you go. I mean, you stole my thunder now because I'm going to stick to the 4-1 from yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I don't see us keeping a clean sheet. Let's be honest. No. But yeah, I reckon 4 goals. You know what? I'll be positive. I'll push it 1 up. 5-1. Why not?
We got Kepa in goal. He's not letting anything go by him.
No. Mate, we'll go 1-0 down in this game. We can always guarantee it.
We'll go 1-0 down. Exactly. Hey, second minute, we'll score a stupid own goal that's going to make everyone hate Kepa. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's just how Chelsea goes.
Just remember, they've got a goalkeeper who's better at cycling than saving a ball. So we should be pumping minimum 6.
He's better at YouTube as well than he's at football now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I laugh. He's better than YouTube than I am. So
we'll give him a good match day vlog.
Hey, I back it. I'm a big fan of that YouTube channel. I can't lie. In the Championship was much better than the Prem when they did the GoPro and the goal content. That was top.
What you need to do is a collaboration with the Sidemen like he does.
Yeah.
I do need to do that. I mean, I would have a lot more subscribers if it did. That would help, for sure. But yeah, now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, and I will be just honest about why, I will not be able to watch the Chelsea game tomorrow because it's at the very exact same time as my local team play, and my local team are going bust. So tomorrow will be our last game as a professional football club. Who knows how many years, if ever, we come back to this spot. So I'm not missing that game. I do apologize. Obviously, if Chelsea has something to play for, different. But we have literally nothing to play for. So I will not watch the game. I will watch it back.
Do a takeover.
YouTube money. Come on, Laurenz.
Bro, launch that consortium, mate. Get me, Aaron, and Clutch, little consortium thing going.
Oh.
I mean, if we can sort that out, if I figure out to give you access, hey, I'm down. I'm down. If you want to do that, as long as you don't get me copyrighted and striked for all sorts of madness.
Get some quotes on prices and get back to us.
Yeah, get some prices, mate. Some prices for the club.
Come on, man.
Exactly. To be fair,
how much would it actually cost?
Get the super chats in.
How much would it actually cost the club?
£1, like Chelsea.
Yeah, see, it's not. That's the problem. It's not purchasable like that because it's a members club, right? But we're currently in debt of 3 million euros, and that's just the debt from this season. And then we still don't have any money to fund next season. So, we're looking at 10 million-ish we need. So, if you've got a line about
that one over.
Exactly. Anyone in the chat with
super chats, that is.
Yeah. Anyone in the chat with a few zeros lying in the bank account, hey, get involved. Imagine, especially YouTube, take 30% of every super chat, right? So imagine if someone turned up with 10 million super chat and YouTube laughing with their 3 million. Oh, fuck off. Laughing all the way to the bank. As if they don't have enough peace. What's her name? Caroline? Is that it with the Polish surname? I forget. You guys probably know that.
Wazanaki or something like that.
No, but is her first name even Caroline?
I think it is.
Well, isn't that a tennis player?
Yeah.
No, yeah, true. Actually, Caroline Wozniacki.
Yeah, that's not YouTube, mate.
Yeah, but she's similar though. Her name starts with W anyway. YouTube CEO. Let's see what happens. Susan, not Caroline, but close enough. And Wojcicki. I don't know. It's a bit like Thomas Rosicki spelled, so I'll go with that. Susan Wojcicki. So there you go. Susan, stop taking all the P's. Give me some. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, big shout out to all my 3 and 4 with Lewis. Wonderful guests. Subscribe to all of them. Follow all of them on their social medias. Of course, like I say, please do subscribe to Charlie. Help him get to 500 subs. We're only quite close, like 30 subs.
Close. It could happen.
Exactly. So right now,
before the end of the season, come on.
Yeah, before the end of the season, 30 people
specified. There's literally an @ with his channel name, The Blues Brothers. Because see, a few months ago, I couldn't do an @ for your channel yet, but now your channel's big enough that I could do that. So I was because otherwise I always had to go to your channel, copy the link, put it in the description. It was much longer. So I was happy when I could do the link. So yeah, click that @ subscribe to Charlie's channel. Please follow Clutch on Twitter and also follow Aaron. Again, he still hasn't told me that he wants anything different linked, so I'm going to go with the Twitter.
I'll tell you afterwards. I'll link it to you in DMs.
All right, cool. So if you have nothing better to do, wait until Aaron tells me, and then I will change the description and then click that link. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you all very, very much, especially if you're still here for the last 5 minutes of absolute waffle. And there's still 165 of you. Oh, actually, how did the Neymar poll finish? We had 560 votes. Fair play. And funnily enough, remember when I said at the very beginning, after 80 votes, it was 55% yes. after 578 votes, it's still 55% yes. That's quite funny. But there you go. Neymar to Chelsea. Will it happen? Will it not? We'll see. It won't. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like I say, road to 15,000 subscribers. Hit that big red subscribe button for me down below. Smash the like button on your way out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.